The Blazers will steal it.
This is one of those games where Portland comes and wins the game. This is not, I mean, the Warriors did everything they could. I thought Steph was put on an incredible show. But Portland is an athletic team. This is the Warriors' kryptonite. They are a young team. They're a fast team. They were rebounding the basketball. Everybody on their team made a play. I mean, you got to think, even in the third quarter, what's the dude? He kept trying to be, he was the aggressor, going against Jimmy Butler. He got an offensive foul on Draymond, got one on Trace Jackson-Davis.
Sissoko?
Yeah.
Sissoko played well.
Everybody on the team, on the Portland team, they were being more aggressive. They were doing all the little things. They were rebounding the ball. Klingon was blocking shots. He blocked that one on Steph Curry that took him out of rhythm. All these things are what they were doing, being more aggressive. On the other hand, the Warriors took a step back. It just felt like they were just watching Steph. And Steph is going to put on a show. But the best Warriors offense is when everybody is involved in the game. And I just felt like they towards the end of the game, it just became a Steph Curry show. They could kind of key that defense in on him.
Yeah, it looks like the Warriors had 7 players in double figures. So the offense was not the problem. I think with the Portland Trailblazers tonight, in all 3 games against the Warriors, tonight they get incredible performances from Avdija, Jeremy Grant, and Shaedon Sharpe. But as we're watching the game, even that last play we showed with Draymond, to me, you should foul Draymond. Don't let Steph get the ball back. So they made a bunch of mistakes, but they didn't hang their heads. They're down 109-99. Looks like the game's almost over. They knocked down a few threes. So they're really resilient to a point where they're so young they don't even know better. And I think when they play the Warriors, they get so pumped up to play against Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler that they really put their best foot forward. But I think the lack of hanging their heads, and those 3 guys put up some huge numbers. When you shoot 50% from the field, 50 from 3, when those categories, you're 29th and 30th in the league, and it's the 3rd time around, that matchup is a problem. And to me, it's obviously size, athleticism, and speed and quickness.
So they've already won the season series. They have another game left at Chase Center later on in the season. But as we mentioned, those 3 guys went crazy in the Warriors. They were up 11 in the third quarter. They were up 10 in the fourth quarter. And now they lead the NBA with the most losses when leading going into the final frame, the final 12 minutes. They've now blown 6 games. 6 games, folks. They surpassed the Washington Wizards, so they're not holding leads because teams get comfortable with the three-point shot. And it's become the great equalizer, Mully, in the NBA. When you can make those threes and get back into it, you can erase a 10-point lead in 30 seconds.
Yeah, no question. I think that stat is a little diluted in this generation because of the three-point shooting, but it also does show, especially at the end of quarters, when the non-Steph Curry minutes, the fact that we've had so many starting lineups, which has been erratic, that bleeds to the bench. So the bench is not established either. So that lead that they have going into the fourth quarter, that's usually when Steph sits, is that bench connected. Like you mentioned, he took Steph and Draymond out. They went on a 6-0 run, but they weren't able to sustain that.
Yeah, I mean, Steve went this time with, maybe he also sees the stat, so he went with Steph Curry starting the fourth quarter. And Steph goes on a heater, and offensively the Warriors are clicking. Problem is defensively tonight they really struggled. They couldn't stop anybody. Shaedon Sharpe was getting to the rim. Avdija was getting to the rim. Jeremy Grant didn't even need to get to the rim. He was getting fouled, but he was just standing at the three-point line and getting those shots. Fourth quarter, they turned the heat up. They were also getting all the 50-50 balls. Those things right there are I think, these are things that the Warriors need to work on. At the end of the game, it's about who wants it more. In those situations, they got to be able to get those offensive rebounds. And maybe in this time, they're just a smaller team, and they weren't able to get to it because the Portland Trailblazers are just the more athletic team.
You mentioned Sharpe, Grant, Avdija. They were combined 30 of 56 from the floor. Well over 50%. And we look at the first 27 games for the Golden State Warriors. They're now under 500. And we've seen what's happened over the last 4 seasons when they've had a slow start, 14-13, 13-14. They've been consistent at being 500 over the last 4 seasons to start the year. Now we're through 33% of the season. And as Mully always quotes the great Yogi Berra, it gets late early out here. Now, you are what your record says you are. They made it to the Western Conference semifinals last season, but they lost in 5 because they had to play playoff games essentially from the start of February. The year before that, they missed the playoffs as they lost to the Kings up at the Go-to-One Center in the play-in tournament. So, Fezzi, I don't know where to go here. 13-14, they'll have another few days off. The schedule is eased up on the Golden State Warriors. Now you get a Phoenix team where Dylan Brooks and company, they're no easy out.
I mean, there are no easy wins in the West. I mean, you could go up and down. Portland Trailblazers are one of the worst ones in the division. And look how tough this game was. Every team in the West is going to be stacked. They have young athletes. If not anything, they're athletic. They're fast. They're going to come in excited to play against the Warriors because of the core who have been so successful here. They want to play against Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy. This team right now is still trying to find its identity. The Warriors are. You've had so many different starting lineups. We've talked about guys in and out of the rotation. Steve Kerr still searching to find people who can get stops at the end of games. Right now, that's the biggest thing I've seen so far is that whenever you have a problem, the Warriors have something that they're always trying to plug. If it's turnovers, it's points in the paint, it's trying to stop people on the floor. There's just always something that they're still trying to find their identity of what they can call to every night on the floor.
Yeah, and I think there has been a fluctuation of different problems that pop up on different games, but I think the consistent problem has been size, speed, and quickness, athleticism. So to me, that needs to be addressed. How do you do that with the lineup, with the roster that you have right now? Do you go back to Jonathan Kuminga? I mean, strictly from a matchup physically, say with the Jeremy Grant. I mean, is there more guy fit on the Warriors roster to match up with a guy like him or Shaedon Sharpe? Or, last year they were kind of hanging around where they were right now, and they made that trade for Jimmy Butler. I think that's what I need to see. That type of 23-8 run from when Jimmy Butler arrived. Mm-hmm. Not only the record, but with the style of play, looked like they established an identity. They figured out how to use Steph's motion and rhythm and flow game with Jimmy's isolation game. That hasn't happened this year. For some reason, that hasn't clicked the way it did last year. More than enough time to do it.
Right.
But, you're coming up on a point in time in the schedule here where you've got home games. So you can't keep pushing 2 games, 3 games, 4 or 5 games. You can't keep giving these games away. Because if you have to play deep into, March and April with an experienced veteran roster, it's going to take a lot of energy from them come playoff time.
Yeah, it's hard to envision a 23-8 run, Fezzi Phil, especially when Stephen Curry's playing at such a high level. You look at his last 9 games. All right, now I know he missed 5 due to the quad contusion. He's putting up all NBA numbers, Fezzi, 34 a game, shooting over 50% from the floor, 43.5 from 3. I mean, you don't want these performances to go to waste. And so now the Warriors are 4-5 on the season when he scores at least 30 in a basketball game. And he's out here surpassing Michael Jordan and breaking records. But let's look at what he did tonight again. 33 to 48 in the second half. He still has it, Fezzi. 16 to 26 from the floor. He's lit up the Portland Trailblazers. When he sees Portland, he goes crazy. Well, heck, when he sees anybody in an NBA uniform, he goes crazy. 48 big ones for the chef, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals.
One of the most exciting players to watch in the NBA, Bonte. Steph Curry is it. He's scoring more than a point a minute. He's a bucket every time he's on the floor. You have to watch him with the basketball, without the basketball. You saw him coming off of screens. You saw him running in transition. You see him, running around trying to set his teammates up. He did everything offensively tonight. I even saw him at the end of the game taking charges. So Steph is doing everything. And part of him playing at this high level is what gives us confidence to say this team has a chance to make some noise in the playoffs. When Steph is healthy, when Steph is playing like this, you feel like you just got to put the pieces around him to make a run. And right now the Warriors have been trying to figure out how do they play with this gravity. And they haven't had the success consistently to do that. They've been able to win games against top opponents where Steph has had these hellacious numbers. But now it's like this is a lot of heavy weight on Steph and no production in terms of wins. So you got to figure out a way to get other guys involved. Draymond had 14 points tonight in the first half. Nothing in the second half. You got to give Portland a lot of credit for shutting that off. They got to find other guys to get involved. When Steph is going off like this, there is a gravity that's created. Other guys got to also get involved in the game and take advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean, it was such an incredible performance tonight, Bonte.
Warriors Nation, this one stings a little. There's been buzz swirling around Chase Center lately. Not about another Curry deep 3 or Moody breakout performance, but about something we never want to hear. The possible exit of one of the most beloved role players in recent memory, Gary Payton II. Yes, GP2, the defensive hound, the hustle king, the heart of the second unit, might be on his way out. Let me say this. Gary Payton II is more than just stats on a box score. He's effort, he's grit, he's energy. When this Warrior squad looks flat, he's the guy diving on the floor, pressing full court, making the play that shifts momentum. And sure, his scoring numbers don't jump off the page, but his impact, you feel it. You see it. And if you really watch Warriors basketball, you know that GP2 is often the difference between a run and a collapse. But the business side of the NBA waits for no one. According to recent reports, the Warriors front office is exploring roster flexibility, trying to make room for either a bigger trade target or to shuffle in young, cheaper talent from Santa Cruz. And with Payton on a $9 million contract and dealing with recurring injuries this season, his name has come up more than once in potential trade talks. Sources say that teams around the league are calling, contenders and rebuilders alike. And why wouldn't they? A healthy GP2 brings elite point-of-attack defense, playoff toughness, and championship experience. He's a dream pickup for a squad looking to plug perimeter defensive holes heading into a postseason push. But let's be clear, moving on from Payton would not be an easy choice for the Warriors. Not for the front office, not for Steve Kerr, and definitely not for the fan base. Because Gary Payton II isn't just another player. He represents the identity this team fought to build. A team that wins not just with finesse, but with fight. Now, here's the twist. Payton's minutes have already been shrinking, especially since the return of key rotational guys and the emergence of Will Richard and Podziemski. Some analysts believe that the writing may be on the wall, but others argue, why trade one of the few true perimeter stoppers on the roster when you're already struggling to defend? Let's not forget, in the 2022 championship run, GP2 was instrumental. His defense on Ja Morant, his transition buckets, his intensity in key finals minutes, all unforgettable. You don't just replace that. So what does this mean for the Warriors moving forward? Well, if Golden State is eyeing a bigger move, like Trey Murphy III or even front court pieces like Porzingis or AD as rumored, then yes, Payton's contract might be one of the few movable assets, especially when you want to keep your core intact. But the risk is clear. Lose that defensive spark off the bench, and you're putting even more pressure on Curry and Butler to cover for lapses that GP2 used to plug seamlessly. At the end of the day, this is the part of the NBA that's cold, it's tough, it's painful. But from a fan's heart, this voice speaking to you right now, I hope Gary Payton II stays. I hope the front office sees what he brings, even if the numbers don't. Because in a locker room full of stars, sometimes what you need most is the guy who's willing to do the dirty work without asking for a headline. Now, I want to hear from you, Warriors Nation. Do you think the Dubs should hold on to GP2, or is it time to move on and make room for a big trade? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you love passionate, raw Warriors coverage like this, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. This is your home for everything Golden State. This is Warriors Nation News. Let's go, Dubs!